Hello and welcome to God Winging It with me, Roger Michael Klang. Already in 2013, German intelligence revealed that Barack Obama had been listening in on Angela Merkel's phone. Now they apparently say that Angela Merkel is in the Epstein files, but not as a perpetrator. The US administration is merely trying to pin her down. However, no other German politician is pinned as a perv in the Epstein files by the US administration. Still, the Deutsche Bank has been linked to Epstein in the past. But in the rest of Europe, and especially in Scandinavia, pervs and female accomplices are exposed like crazy. So why not in Germany? To answer that, we need to go to the source. The female, the female US Justice Minister Pam Bondi is handling the Epstein files, and 1 million files are still kept from the public. She is an accomplice to the Donald and the many other male pedophile perpetrators in the US administration that are in the files. What a Taliban woman. She is portioning out selected pages from the Epstein files. So, why not Germany? My qualified guess right now is that the US administration is aiming for the creation of a neo fascist Germany so that the US can ride the wave and still not have to take responsibility. It is not far fetched at all. Remember when Elon worked for Donald directly? He pushed for the AfD, Allianz für Deutschland, and hoped for the German parliament to perish under the far-right movement. He blamed Labour in Britain for being too soft on immigration, and he did this with some success. This was likely just the tip of the iceberg, the few things you could observe as a private citizen. But wait a minute, you say. Shouldn't more politicians than Angela Merkel be exposed if it is like I say? Well, they hate Angela Merkel, but they hate Scandinavian liberals more today. That is why Scandinavian liberals are a dying breed, because of pressure from the US administration. Angela Merkel, on the other hand, is more or less out of politics already. And Germany is very much a continental state, very sexually conservative, on the surface at least. The US administration looks upon Germany as a solid democratic institution, and there is no Hitler today. That is probably one reason why the US takes this approach to shake and bake Germany into a fascist state like the USA, but probably not a neo Nazi state, or at least they don't count on it. But wait, yet another minute. Something is happening with Europe's energy market. The EU wants to allocate 25% of the bottleneck fees in the EU to countries that have been neglecting their power grid. It means that we Swedes, much more than other countries' citizens, have to pay for the neglecting country's grid extension. And to add insult to injury, we also have to pay more for the electricity we ourselves produce. The EU is going to try and make Sweden an energy supplier to Germany to an even higher extent than we are today. at the expense of the Swedish people that produce the energy. Is Germany involved in some way? I don't know. But I do know that Germany has been at it several times before, trying to coerce Sweden into becoming Germany's energy slave. Germany's energy politics is far from the only area where Germany has cheated the Swedes in the past. We already supply Finland and Denmark and the Baltic states, besides Germany, with a lot of energy. And we usually don't receive much energy back. So, it makes much more sense to think that the Donald's administration has been discussing this with their German counterpart under the table and agreeing on not pushing for a neo Nazi Germany in exchange for cooperation in the Donald's pet peeve project, vacuum Scandinavia from money and assets, when, or rather if, the Donald can create a severe crisis in Scandinavia. It doesn't hurt that the Germans come forth looking like superhumans as they mysteriously don't show up in the Epstein files at all this time. With the exception of Angela Merkel, of course. My solution is that we refuse to expand the power grid to Germany with new cables. And, for God's sake, make sure the Germans won't be able to build them in Sweden. They do already control some more local grids in Sweden. But wait yet another minute. There is more. Gold, silver, and copper, and also rare earth metals and cobalt and lithium are prospected in Sweden to an ever increasing level. Last year alone, Swedish authorities received 152 applications for mining prospects. The year before that, we saw just about as many applications. Land is purchased for possible mining purposes. Most of this prospecting comes from abroad. But gold and silver have always enticed prospectors. They don't want to buy the finished products from Sweden. That is why mining never amounts to anything in Sweden. Only the half-state-owned LKAB, and maybe a few more mining operations exist in Sweden because of this robbery attempt. It's very much geopolitics. The usual Swedish scapegoat for not approving the applications is the environment. But wait a minute yet again. Donald Trump is suing the BBC and wants to coerce the legally responsible chiefs into a trial in Florida. Think about it. The US are legislating laws on Britain, holding them responsible for something they say about another state's leader. A democracy with a free and independent press. No one is safe. At least not in Britain, it seems. But probably not in Sweden either, with our weak and corrupt leadership. They'd throw anyone to the wolves. Fortunately, I'm not anyone. But it isn't as bad as you think. Fortunately, the Brits are a much wanted ally to Donald. So the top chiefs will go free. As long as they pay the Donald $10 billion of the citizens' money for slander, that is. I don't want to bore you, but wait another minute yet again. The obscure assistant U.S. Assistant War Minister Elbridge Colby was talking at the NATO Defense Ministers meeting, and he said that NATO suddenly is NATO 3.0. Hey, what happened to NATO 2.0? You skipped it and went straight to NATO 3.0, or what? Okay, maybe he did. But why rename NATO at all? What's the catch? The US wants to control how much money European countries spend on weapons and what weapons. The US also want all according to Colby, that NATO march together and start from the new American security strategy. Great! There will be a new American war, and we Europeans get to help them out. Again! Hooray! Where will this war take place? Either in and around the Persian Gulf, or in the South China Sea, or both. The US administration are scoundrels. Sweden will participate by buying more weapons from the US and give to Ukraine in its war against Russia. Weak ass pussies. Not because they give weapons to Russia, to Ukraine, but because they buy American weapons to give to Ukraine. That's why they're weak ass pussies. Are you sleepy yet? No? Good, I have more to add. The former Norwegian State Minister Torbjørn Jagland, who headed the European Council from 2009 to 2019, he has got his judicial immunity revoked by the Council for suspicious connection with Jeffrey Epstein. Wow! I didn't know the European Council could grant judicial immunity. Hey, don't forget to revoke Putin's judicial immunity. Torbjørn has displayed unforgivably poor judgment. That is for sure. Believe it or not, but every single individual of his family must all be pervs, since Torbjørn wanted to book a vacation for his whole family at Epstein's Island. And coincidentally, the Norwegian former State Minister Torbjørn Jagland is now suddenly also investigated for corruption. And these allegations and requests come from the Norwegians themselves. But it all started at Pam Bondi's desk. I thought Norwegians had backbone. There is something very fishy with these allegations, I say. Don't believe everything powerful men tells you. Follow the money, folks. Helena Wilhelmsson, equality political spokesperson for the Centre Party in Sweden, is immediately jumping on the bandwagon and demands cleaning up in this Schweinen style of my country. Just like the Norwegians will do. Stupid is what stupid do. In the meantime, Starmer lost another Epstein possible pervert in his staff to voluntary absentia. They found another Swede in the Epstein files. I guess they must have made the files automatically searchable in a computer program. No, but he is 70 years old today, and he had only lived in Sweden the last 30 years in 2012. Oh, I wonder if he really is American. Also, the leader of the Scottish Labour Party, Anna Sarwar, is quite opportunistic, isn't the little bugger? He wants Keir Starmer to resign. New leadership needed in Downing Street, he says. I wonder who he's thinking should lead. And Mark Rutte is just clowning on. Roger and out.